to DepEd TV. It's a brand new day, a brand new chance to learn. I am Ma'am Derry, and I am very excited to bring you today's lesson. So set your mind, ready your heart, and brace yourselves as we explore the world of oral communication. For this episode, we will talk about the different types of speech contents. What is a speech context? And what are its various types? Let's figure them out all together. But before we begin, let's first have a recap. In the previous episode, you got to know the principles of verbal and nonverbal communication. With that, recall the different aspects of verbal communication and identify which of the following situations that utilize nonverbal cues best emphasize each aspect. Are you ready? Let's begin. A. The international school where Draco is studying has Korean visitors during the commencement exercises. As the valedictorian, he bowed as he greeted the Korean visitors during his speech. Letter B. Kai's seatmates were murmuring and giggling, so she couldn't understand her teacher's lecture. Kai wanted them to be quiet, so she said, "Shh, you have to listen," and placed her index finger on her mouth. Letter C. Marco hosted Trixie's debut. It was a masquerade party, so Marco wore dark-colored formal clothes matched with a black mask. Letter D. The artist in the commercial smiled brightly while delivering the product's tagline. Letter E. While watching a movie, the little boy got confused and asked his mom about a specific part in the story. The mom explained with words she was certain the little boy is familiar with a constructive tone of voice. Have you answered? Let's check. Which of the following best emphasizes appropriateness? The answer is letter C. Marco hosted Trixie's debut. It was a masquerade party, so Marco wore dark-colored formal clothes matched with a black mask. Marco's attire as a nonverbal cue was appropriate to the formal communication situation, for he followed the theme of the event. What about for brevity? The answer is letter E. While watching a movie, the little boy got confused and asked his mom about a specific part in the story. The mom explained with words she was certain the little boy is familiar with a constructive tone of voice. The mother used the tone of voice as a nonverbal cue to take away the confusion of the little boy towards the part of the movie that he did not understand. Which one emphasizes clarity? The answer here is letter B. Kai's seatmates were murmuring and giggling, so she couldn't understand her teacher's lecture. Kai wanted them to be quiet, so she said, "Shh, you have to listen," and placed her index finger on her mouth.
Kai used control or regulation as a function of communication for her seatmates to be quiet.
She placed her index finger on her mouth as a gesture that emphasizes her purpose. Now, for ethics, the answer is letter A. The international school where Draco is studying has Korean visitors during the commencement exercises. As the valedictorian, he bowed as he greeted the Korean visitors during his speech. Bowing is a traditional greeting in Korea, which is also a gesture of respect. Draco was able to know his audience well and apply the gesture that would not disrespect him. For the last aspect, vividness, the answer is letter D. The artist in the commercial smiled brightly while delivering the product's tagline. To smile brightly while delivering a figurative statement such as a tagline would definitely allow the artist to seem vibrant and lively in front of the audience. I do hope you were able to answer each item correctly. Now it's time to proceed to our new lesson. Are you ready? Let's get the ball rolling. Every day in our lives, we concern ourselves with interaction among people. Back before the pandemic, you always talk to your best friend. You brainstorm about tasks with your groupmates. You report in front of the class. But because of the pandemic, the face-to-face interaction among these people lessened. However, the interaction among people you used to talk to did not really stop. You just now have a different channel, the digital world. With the help of technology, you can send private messages to your best friend. You can still interact among groups through group chats. And you can still do your report through uploading videos online. In this case, it is necessary for you to understand the concept of speaking in a variety of communication situations and the number of people you communicate with. Communication situation is what we call a speech context. According to DeVito in 2005, context refers to the setting in which the communication takes place. Context helps to establish meaning and can influence what is said and how it is said. Let's have an activity. Read each situation inside the circle, then evaluate the communication context it matches. Number 1. Consoling a friend who is feeling down. Number 2. Cheering yourself up before an important event. Number 3. Delivering your graduation speech to your fellow graduates. Number 4. Discussing with your groupmates your assigned report. And number 5, articulating your stand on a pressing issue in the editorial page. Your choices are the following communication contexts. Letter A, communication in public. Letter B, communication with self. Letter C, communication between two persons. Letter D, communication using the media. And letter E, communication in a small group. For situation 1, the communication context is letter C.
This is communication between two persons, you and your friend.
For situation 2, the communication context is letter B.
This is communication with yourself. 3.
The communication context is letter A. This is communication in public. During graduation ceremonies,
We expect a big number of people.
for situation number 4, the communication situation is letter E.
This is communication in a small group. The number of people is 10 or less.
For situation number 5, the communication situation is D.
This is communication using the media.
An editorial page is found in a newspaper, which is a type of print media that could be read by an even greater number of people from different places. The given communication contexts in the activity we just did are divided into 4 types of speech context. Let's start with the first one. Intrapersonal communication is a type of speech context that is focused on one person, where the speaker acts both as the sender and the receiver of the message. The channel of communication for intrapersonal communication is the brain of the speaker that processes his or her thoughts or feelings. Basically, this is talking to yourself. This may be done quietly inside your head, but some do this while actually talking or when looking at themselves in the mirror. How often do you talk to yourself? And why do you do it? Talking to oneself is done for many reasons, but mostly when we feel strong emotions. Whenever we are losing our drive to finish our tasks, we cheer or motivate ourselves to do it. Whenever we are mad, we calm ourselves in our minds. Or when we are to make decisions, we weigh in our options and talk about it in our minds. What course should I take? Education? Broadcast arts? Broadcast arts? Education? Or maybe I can do both. On the other hand, we have interpersonal communication. Interpersonal communication is a type of speech context that takes place between and among people. Normally, it includes two individuals, and it can vary from casual and very personal to formal and impersonal communication situations. Because situations vary depending on the number of receivers, interpersonal communication is divided into two types. The first one is communication that happens between two people, like when you are interviewed by the university staff for a college application, or when you console a sad friend, or when you see your mother and father discuss financial matters in the living room. This is what we call dyad communication. The second one is communication that involves at least 3 but not more than 12 people engaged in face-to-face interactions. In this type of conversation, all participants can freely express their ideas throughout the discussion. Like when you catch up with your group of friends, or when you talk with your brother and sister during snack time, or when you brainstorm with your groupmates about your research paper. This is what we call small group communication. The third type of speech context is public communication.
Public communication is a type of speech context that enables you to send or deliver a message before a crowd.
According to Hybels and Weaver in 2012, in public communication, unlike interpersonal and small groups, the channels are more exaggerated. The voice is louder and the gestures are more expansive because the audience is larger. Basically, this is delivering a speech in front of a big number of people. Have you ever spoken in front of a big crowd? Students who join student councils have experienced public communication when they deliver their campaign speeches in front of the school body. Students who join speech contests during Buwan ng Wika or English Week have experienced public communication when they deliver their contest piece in front of the judges and the audience. However, these speeches, once recorded and uploaded on digital sites, become a completely different speech context. The fourth type of speech context is mass communication. Mass communication is a type of speech context through television, radio, newspapers, magazines, books, billboards, the internet, and other types of media.
This speech context reaches a wide range of audiences in different parts of the country or the world.
In the new normal, mass communication is one of the efficient ways to provide information to students due to the risk that face-to-face interaction may cause. With this, DepEd TV episodes, which are televised nationally, are delivered by teacher broadcasters. In order to be informed of the things happening in the country or the world,
news is delivered by news anchors on different television channels and social media sites.
Again, the four types of speech context are intrapersonal, interpersonal, dyad and small group, public, and mass communication. All of which, I am certain, you have experienced and witnessed over the years. Now let me just inform you of the verbal and nonverbal behavior that you must observe in different speech contexts. Whenever you do self-talk, you must remember two things. 1. Use it to your advantage. Cheer yourself up before an event or when you're feeling down. Use it for self-reflection or self-evaluation. Just a daily reminder, do self-talk to encourage and motivate yourself to feel better, do better, and be better. 2. Don't overdo it. While it's normal to talk to yourself constantly,
it is better not to overuse this type of speech context.
the most common reason why people end up talking to themselves is because they feel like they do not have someone else to talk to. To address this, you need to be more sociable. It would allow you to talk to more people other than yourself. When talking to one person or a small group of people, take note of these two things. 1. Listen carefully. Needless to say, this is the very basic foundation of effective communication. You have to listen carefully and understand what the other person is saying. Asking clarifying questions lets the other person know that you are indeed listening attentively.
More so, be an active participant in the process.
You also need to be heard and understood when it is your time to speak. 2. Check your tone and body language. As we have mentioned in the previous lesson, nonverbal cues are vital in the communication process. The vocabulary of the body speaks louder than the actual words you say. Lastly, when talking to a large audience, you must come prepared. Speaking in front of the crowd requires many preparations, from analyzing your target audience to planning and drafting your speech, up to the rehearsing part, and for mass, the recording, up to the editing and posting part. Be yourself while you are on stage and speak in the way that you will be easily understood by your audience. And there we have it. We are finally done discussing the different speech contexts. Now, before we end this episode, there's one last thing you have to do. I want you to do self-talk and share it through mass communication. Reflect on what you would advise yourself to do so you can become a better communicator. Write your answer in this format. Dear Self, and inside it is your realization and advice. Love, Self.
After doing this, do post on your Facebook page using the hashtag #DairyMinder so I can easily see your answers.
The best one will be featured on DepEd Philippines Facebook page.
So you better make sure that your post is public.
On our next episodes, we will talk about the different types of speech according to purpose. Make sure to read ahead. Once again, this is Ma'am Derry, bringing you lessons on communication and leaving you with a Derry reminder. Don't just speak with your mind, speak with your heart. Ciao!